Welcome to Fusing the Unfusable. Today we have a special guest, Fadi al-Faqih. Fadi's a professional banker. He was the chief executive officer of Bank of Khartoum for many years. He has over 23 years of experience. He was chosen as one of the top 500 influential personalities in Islamic finance in 2017 and Banker of the Year in 2016 from the Global Islamic Finance Awards. Fadi has an impressive resume. He, prior to Bank of Khartoum, he held positions at Citibank, Egyptian Arab Land Bank, Standard Chartered Bank, and ANZ Grindlays Bank. Fadi holds a global executive MBA from Trium, which is LSE, NYU, and HEC joint program. Welcome to the show, Fadi.
Thank you. Thank you, Karim.
Thanks for joining me.
My pleasure. Thank you for hosting me. Thank you.
So let's get into it.
Yep.
You know, we're in the Web3 world. We've talked about it at length.
Yep.
And you come from the banking legacy world, which for us is fascinating.
It's rare,
right? We're looking to disrupt it. At the same time, we still trying to understand it. So having you here is really important to us. You worked in East Africa.
Yeah.
More particularly Sudan.
Yeah.
For Bank of Khartoum. Can you give us some, headlines about what banking's like over there, for those of us that don't know Africa and banking in Africa?
Well, thank you first of all, thank you, Karim. Thank you for hosting me. Yes, it's been banking for me has been it's been my career. It's been my thrive to actually, been in many positions where there's an opportunity to advance, an opportunity to innovate. And if you ask me, I've been a CEO since the age of 33. So you asked me what the key success to the whole career. It was innovation, IT, and being there, implementing core systems, and being always ahead of the game in terms of the technology. Sudan is not the least. Sudan, I went there in 2006, and basically you had the infrastructure ready there. They started where everybody ended. At one time, the fiber optics and the speed of the net in Sudan was considered one of the best in the world, and in some rankings, number one. And unfortunately, the banking infrastructure at that time was not that advanced, given many reasons. One of them is the U.S. sanctions. One of them is that the poor capital, etc. And since they opened up by signing the CPA in 2005, everything opened up. Capital came in, influx of many investments came in. And it started. I took over as the group CEO for Bank of Khartoum, a bank which was a governmental bank, got privatized, and Dubai Islamic Bank being the major shareholder there. And we started digitalizing everything. We started with literally no ATMs, one server. And until I left, we ended up with 360 ATMs all across. We implemented, at the time, mobile banking. First of its in the region, not even in the in many countries all across Africa, or even in the GCC and the Middle East had this kind of system. It went through a lot of challenges, especially taking out major businesses out of the telcos, because people were using airtime as a means of exchange, and replacing it with real money was a big challenge. And it wasn't that easy.
So it was tokenized before the banking came in, right? They were using minutes basically as tokens.
Which shows you people innovate. If they have necessity, they find the ways and the means to do their business. And at the time, because of the poor banking infrastructure, people used the airtime as a means of exchange, to barter, to exchange and discount. And though it was abused by the middlemen and all that, but people just kept on doing it because it's easier, it's convenient, and with a broad geography like Sudan, you need any mechanism.
We had a guest on the show who in 2012 was working with Bitcoin,
Yeah.
really early on, and he found a way to convert Bitcoin into minutes, so people were able to send Bitcoin as minutes to their family. So yeah, we're not. It's not new to us, right? In blockchain, we've heard about obviously Africa and other poor countries where they use that. So for us, I guess it's a form of tokenization, and what's really interesting is that the way you're describing it is that Sudan had, thanks to maybe the work that you've done, Bank of Khartoum, a proper banking infrastructure in terms of consumer banking.
Yes, so we led the consumer banking business there, with other main products like the treasury and the corporate. But we led it, and I'm pleased to, even today, as we speak, with whatever is going on in Sudan. Bankak, which is the brand name of the mobile application, is the life savior of Sudan. It's the only means to exchange money in Sudan. So you can't imagine how many calls and how many thanks I get through all types of media.
It's rewarding. It's rewarding.
It's rewarding, and it's really hard. I don't know the impression, but it's really puts me proud to actually be contributing to such a thing.
Yeah, it makes you proud. I have similar feelings about the work that I did in Haiti and the shipping business. Yeah. I think that Africa fascinates us in the blockchain world because we keep talking about banking the unbanked and the story of the tokenized, the minutes being used for barter, and then banking coming in. But banking is so much more than that. And tech. And we're very much interested in technology. So how a country that's really poor, that has no infrastructure, suddenly has fiber optic and has high-speed internet. Wow. Now, the fact that it's going through war, I'm sure doesn't help. But overall, East Africa, is in terms of banking, intra-country transfers, is it working? I mean...
Well, like many other countries, African countries, they have their own challenges, if I may say, and mainly related to hard currency, foreign currency related. But Sudan was doubled with the issues of sanction and the complications that it happened, that with the tightening of the KYC and the AML requirements all across the globe, that was a bigger challenge than anything else. That was one of the things that... we as Bank of Khartoum helped in, because we were the first and the only financial institution that got delisted from the sanctions in 2011, and that was one of the major things. You can't believe the feeling that happened all across the nation, that it was a breakthrough for the financial institutions to get that kind of breakthrough. And then the bank, we became helpful, and we lobbied for helping out the country to get delisted from the sanctions. And one other major aspect, which was a real add value to the financial inclusion, it was the microfinance. We did a lot of... we established the microfinance in Sudan, the proper Islamic microfinance. And the bank won many awards, thankful to the team and their contribution to that, where we won a lot of awards to the actual real full cycle integration of microfinance, Islamic microfinance into the community. And we won a couple of awards which were like regional and prestigious in a sense.
I mean, microfinance can have a big impact if done right on the economy.
True. True.
It's very interesting. So let's leave Africa for a little bit and jump a little, north.
Yeah.
What's the state of banking in the Middle East? How do you see it as an industry? Fintech's now kind of taking its seat at the table. We've talked about that here in the past. Some things have gotten better. Things are more difficult because of KYC and AML requirements and the FATF regulations. How do you see it overall? High level, 30,000-foot view, let's say.
You have a mixture of development happening across the region. You have areas which are, in general, GCC, specifically UAE and KSA, well developed, with the infrastructure, with the capability of having advanced banking, advanced fintech, and insurtech. So all of these are well established in the GCC and specifically KSA and UAE. Other countries, there are the challenges, as you mentioned, Kareem, the issue of compliance, the KYC, and the FATF and the capital requirements. When you talk risk, you talk about additional cost, additional capital, and I believe the actual interest of MNCs, multinational corporations, and banks into being an international, being placed in the international world becomes a challenge, because it becomes for them not lucrative and non-profitable to be placed in these countries.
Operating becomes very costly and difficult. And access to foreign currencies, etc.,
and capital requirements. Because again, it's not about, for them, it's all about risk and capital requirements and the cost of doing business. And every institution of these MNCs calculates it to the dot, as they say. Now, given that that's what built, that there's an advantage for that, and then there's a disadvantage for that. The advantage is that these countries will have to come up with the entrepreneurs, with the fintechs, with the insurtechs, to find a ways and means to develop these necessities. And the challenge is that how do you integrate that with the globe? And this is where the blockchains came in, and the bitcoins came in, and the new technology that came in to bypass and surpass the actual bureaucracy and the requirements that are required, especially for compliance. And we would see a lot happening in the near future. And I'm sure, there will be a lot of global examples, and it will be like a bit of a who would be servicing and who would be taking over who to ensure the viability and ensure the people are getting the right place.
I mean, there's some edge cases like El Salvador, which was already dollarized, which is making Bitcoin their national currency, and then you have Argentina, which is another example, extreme measures. For us it's very interesting because again, in our space, and we look at that and we see it ripe for disruption. But then we've kind of been under the compliance. So right now we're working very much to be regulated and compliance as an industry. A lot of us, and you almost can't work without that. So we're kind of facing some of the same challenges that the legacy world is facing. So the banking legacy, let's say, is facing. So it's not easy, and we're starting to see the difficulties. Let's focus a little bit on fintech. So, you mentioned it in general, you talk about fintech in Africa, but overall, fintech and banking, within banking, and that seat at the table. I've often mentioned that. I feel like now fintech has a seat at the table. Banks have, in many cases, actually gone and bought out some of these fintech companies. What's, just the headlines? What's your view?
Fintechs, well, of course, the idea of fintechs is basically, it became as a challenge for the conventional banks, I would say the legacy banks, to come up and wake up and say that they were with their own castles on high walls of not allowing and being protected by central banks, of not actually developing and innovating and opening up their systems and their data to the new world. And fintechs came in and it created that kind of pressure group to state that there is a need, there's a necessity, and there's a customer demand. At the end of the day, customers have a say. And whenever you see customers demanding a certain product or a certain service, as much as you can say as a regulator how much protective you are to your children, which are the banks, at the end of the day you have to come up with a policy, with a regulation to open up and include these fintechs into the world. And in addition, not just fintechs, insurtechs, if you want to make it a bigger broadband umbrella of development, both have to come up and surface. And now today we're talking about open banking. Never, it was like that was a taboo for a bank to tell them open open up your systems from a customer consent and say, as a customer, I own my data, I own my information, and I'm allowed permissible to share it with any third party. And things are evolving towards people opening up and having APIs across banks and allowing others to come in. With the banks opening up and investing in the digitalization, it's also a threat to the fintechs, mind you, because the fintechs, as much as they try, the banks are still huge in capital and well capitalized, and have the capability to invest and take over these fintechs and do their own. So the banks have...
It is an interesting game, right?
Yeah.
The fintechs go and develop products, improve customer experience, work on the UX, on the design, innovate, come up with crazy ideas, and execute some of these ideas and create these MVPs and demonstrate demos, etc. And then so in the end the consumer benefits. I mean, payments. We keep talking about payments, so many companies in payments, and then you look at, everyone, send me a link,
Yeah.
You're chatting with someone, or you're chatting with a customer or with a vendor saying, send me a link. And this
True.
is something unheard of, where you'd have to go write a check or go walk with cash or take your credit card and go. Now you're able to really do that. It's improved our lives.
And time.
And saves us much time to work more or to enjoy.
And now banks are even thinking about, there's a lot of examples where banks, they've come to the innovation of white labeling their own products and services, where they sell it to other competitive banks to, come in and front end.
Why reinvent the wheel, right?
And then reinvent the wheel, yeah. And
let's jump. So you're a banker, but you're also an investor. You've invested in several startups.
Yes.
How about telling us about your businesses, some of the businesses you're involved in?
After I left Sudan in 2018, and even during my work, I became a lot passionate about what's coming in, and I took a course in Singularity University in San Francisco, and that was one of the best things. That it was a 10-day best thing that happened to me in terms of opening up and saying, the talk, everything about disruption. And it wasn't about banking, it wasn't about finance, it was about what's next and in the world, and how to disrupt, and how to in different sectors and different aspects. And Singularity University opened up a lot of eyes for me, and I started thinking about what's, how we can redo that. I've invested a lot into many fintechs in search engines and digitalization, front end digitalization. I developed my own trade finance platform, and successfully partnered with one of the top PE funds, and it was taken over. And I'm still looking into. One of the things I'm actually doing today is a lot of pro bono. So one of the things is like to give back and to the entrepreneurs and the fintechs. I have, through the IFC Fintech Hive, I've done a lot of volunteer work. And I still help out close to 5 fintechs into developing their own systems on a pro bono basis.
It's very rewarding, isn't it? And you learn, and
Yeah.
it keeps you abreast of everything that's going on.
Yeah, and a lot of them are appreciative, and they actually, as much as they demand, and as much as I keep up in giving them what they need, and giving the right advice of what is needed and how they approach it. The business side and the business development side is crucial. It's not just about the program, it's just also about the business concept. And is it sellable or not sellable, and who you're going to sell it to, and cash flows, and and how to take it forward. It's not an easy matter.
There's coaching and mentoring and asking a lot of questions, right?
Yes,
that should be answered. They don't always have the answers.
No.
We're talking about this earlier, what's happening in the US and with the elections, and the whole world seems to be a bit like upside down. And what's your view for the next 6 to 9 months overall in terms of finance? I mean, we're looking at interest rates. They weren't raised. The stock market reacted. We're at record highs. Blockchain, that's, still kind of following the stock market. What's your view on what's going to happen in the next 6 to 9 months in banking or,
I can
overall
describe
economics?
it as another 9/11, where the world really changed after 9/11, and the whole capital requirements, risk, Basel 3, Basel 4, and then it moved on to all these complications. And I see it coming again, but in a different way, a different means, because that's the way it's gonna go. And today, yes, rates, and I don't expect them to change. That's my own personal view. However, on the technology side, on the fintech side, there's a lot of surprises that yet to happen, because everything is evolving. The way we do things is changing. How are we going to adapt with the new AI and handling of data and the of what's next going to happen in terms of applications, in terms of services, how things are going to be delivered. Focus will be, I would imagine, that will take its own course of development, but there'll be a lot of development happening on the e-commerce side, where everybody forgets that the e-commerce is key also, and e-commerce will overcome the fintech.
An example of e-commerce that's happened recently that I'm sure everyone's heard this, Temu. Suddenly, Temu, Temu, is all over the place, shipping from China at very affordable prices, out of the blue. And it's incredible that they were able to do this, and globally. It's not just
effective.
Yeah, and it works. You order, and there are. Sometimes you get surprised by the products you get. Sometimes the size. We make fun of things are smaller, but they seem to have the Chinese are really surprising at times, and it's taken us by storm.
Yeah.
In terms of like where Alibaba, Alipay, Alibaba, AliExpress was, it always felt it was more B2B. Temu is consumer, so everyone's ordering from Temu, just like we order from Amazon.
Yes.
In the countries that allow it. I know there are some countries that don't, but definitely e-commerce is changing. It's going to be interesting to see what happens with tariffs, with a potential Trump presidency in 2025, and all the upheaval in let's say the trade agreements and things that I recall happened in his last presidency. So this is one place that we can see it, but it's definitely going to be interesting to see what happens with the exchange rates, with the interest rates, and the global economy. It's
eventually they will come down. Trade barriers will increase. Trump is on that. As a U.S. president, he's a strong believer that he has to in-house all manufacturing and trade, and that's the way.
At least the strategic products,
yes. And he's gonna, put trade walls for any kind of European or Chinese companies coming into the U.S. And not allow it. And I think now we see a trend all across the globe, and that people are just throwing away the WTO and the WTO agreements, and they're just putting their own trade walls and not allowing products to be present. It's unfortunate for underdeveloped countries or countries which are, I hate the word third world countries, because they're in the mercy of getting the money and the aid, and to get that money and aid, they have to comply into getting the products of the countries that are providing the aid into their country. That will add complications.
This is so I saw it in Haiti, where the U.S. was donating rice. The rice gets sold under a program, and the money goes to certain programs. But in certain cases, it hurt the local rice farmers. And I think even Clinton, who was the sponsor of this program, because the rice farmers were in Arkansas, his home state, actually admitted that he had hurt the Haitian economy with that program. but then they're dependent on it. There's no obvious or clear answer to how to help these countries, but definitely killing their local production of agricultural products. I mean, that whole concept of, Adam Smith, saying that, division of labor, whoever makes it the most efficient should be the one that makes it. It doesn't apply on I don't think it applies globally.
It doesn't, no.
There are some things that you should continue to produce locally. There are times where you need to protect some industries in order to keep your country functioning normally. And in case of disruptions like we faced during the pandemic, where you had supply chain disruptions, what do you do? Here in the UAE, they worked very hard since the pandemic to improve farming and secure, supply chains and even farming lands across the world to ensure that they would have food for the country. And they've done a great job through some of the entities that they've created here, Silal and others in the UAE.
Food security. This is what, when we were working with the US, and always I love this phrase, it's called unintended consequences of law. Sometimes the intention is actually to protect the world and make it more safer and etc. But that's the intention, or at least the written intention, or what's seen. But the unintended consequences of anything that is imposed either by regulation or by law or by sanctions or etc., it always has its complications.
Collateral damage.
It has a lot of complications. Even in the time of the COVID, they had a lot of there was a lot of unintended consequences, like what happened to subsidizing the airlines, and they were subsidizing the airlines to make them work. But actually what happened as an unintended consequence is basically you had air flights flying with no passengers, because if they stopped air flights, they will not get the subsidy. So again, on sanctions, if you want to stop, for example, payments for a certain country because of their mischief or any sort of bad, it will encourage other black markets or shadow markets to do business. So, and it implicates and makes it worse for the people and citizens of the countries to actually live.
So this ties in beautifully to as we end our episode is that blockchain, we believe, brings the transparency, brings accountability, and these systems will hopefully improve governance. And with decentralization, there are some countries like Lebanon that doesn't have a functioning government, but when you visit, apparently, I haven't been, but certain municipalities are running very efficiently because it's at municipal level. So decentralization as a concept of governance is, I think it's a Swiss model as well, will hopefully improve in some countries that are going through hard times, hopefully like Lebanon, Haiti, and others.
Yeah.
Fadi,
hopefully, we hope so.
We hope so. Fadi, thank you so much for your time. It was a pleasure to have you on. We look forward to having you again.
Inshallah. Thank you very much, Kareem, and really appreciate it. And we'll hopefully meet soon. Thank you very much.
Yeah.